All right. Right. Shalom, shalom, most high Christ, bless brothers and sisters. Happy new moon. Happy new moon, happy new moon, and happy Sabbath. Also, we got the Sabbath coming in, we got the new moon coming in, and I hope everybody's prepared to have a great feast with their brothers and sisters. I'm also Nathaniel with TTIC, which stands for the Truth in Christ. And I'll be giving the new moon class today, and it's titled Keeping the Law of Modesty for the Women. Keeping the Law of Modesty. But before I get in depth into the class, we as we always do, we go over some of our new moon. We go over some things, some scriptures, and going into the new moon. And I'm going to start out in Psalms 81. Psalms 81, verses 3 and verses 4. And it says, blow up the trumpets in the new moon, in the time appointed on our solemn feast days. For this was a statute for Israel and a law of the God of Jacob. So blowing up to trumpets in the new moon, this is just not a suggestion or something that God had actually, he gave a commandment to do so. This is what we do. Like everybody else in the world, they have their days that their traditionary days and the things they do. But our days, the things that we participate in are actually commandments of God. And we do that. That's part of the way we celebrate God. We worship God, keeping his commandments, laws, statutes, commandments, which was given to us, the Israelites. Going into Psalms real quick, I'm going to go to Psalms. And the reason why we could say that, because Psalms 147, verse 19 and verse 20, it says, he showeth his word unto Jacob. We just spoke of Jacob here. We just spoke of, right in verse 4, it says, for this was a statute for Israel and a law of the God of Jacob. So in Psalms 147, 19 and 20, it says, he showed his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He has not dealt so with any nation. As far as judgments, the other nations, have not known them. So that's how we can be sure that God gave his laws, statutes, and commandments to us, and also the holy days. Again, Psalms 81, verse 3, blow up the trumpets, which we do in the new moon, in the time appointed on our solemn feast days. So the new moon is a feast day. It's a solemn feast day. And on our feast days, let's go to Leviticus 23. In the book of Leviticus, chapter 23. And I'm going to start at verse 2. It says, speak unto the children of Israel and saying to them concerning the feast of the Lord. Just spoke of new moon being a feast. It says, concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocation. So any feast that we have, any holy day, it's required of us for it to be a holy convocation. That's when we all must gather together. Speak unto the children of Israel. So now this is the Lord telling Moses. Didn't speak of any other nation. It says, speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them. We clarified that. We clarified that in Psalms 147, 19, 20. That God gave the laws, statutes, commandments unto Jacob, unto Israel. So here Moses is talking to our forefathers, talking to us, even still today. Speaking to the children of Israel and saying to them, concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocation. Even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest and holy convocations. So the Sabbath is a holy convocation. Again, it's actually a feast also. It's one of the feasts that we eat only cold food. Tonight, we're able to eat hot food, to have this feast to bring in the new moon. But here it goes in to the seventh day Sabbath. Says 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest. In holy convocation, ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in your dwellings. Verse 4 says, these are the feast of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. So a new moon is proclaimed at a certain time, at an appointed time, as it states back over here in Psalms 81. Verse 3 says, blow up the trumpets in the new moon in the time appointed. So these times, it's always times that are appointed for our feast days and our holy days. Moving on into the book of Numbers, chapter 10, verse 10. The book of Numbers, chapter 10 and verse 10, it says, also in the day of your gladness. So when we celebrate our feast days, when we come together in holy convocation, these should be days of our gladness. We should be happy in participating and doing these things that our Lord asked us to do. Again, not as suggestions, but these are laws, these are commandments, these are days that we must keep. This is how we honor and worship our Lord. Numbers 10, verse 10. Also in the days, a day of your gladness, in your solemn days, in the beginning of your months, the beginning of your months. So in the beginning of every month, we have a blowing of the trumpet. We celebrate a new moon. So ye shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offerings and over your sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial before your God. So these things are for a memorial. And also, we don't have to have burnt offerings anymore. We don't have to have burnt offerings anymore. We don't have to have offerings of sacrifices. Because why? Remember, Christ was the ultimate sacrifice. He took the place of those things. How do we show our gladness in spite of that? And with that thing, how do we show our gladness? How do we show, as it says, in the beginning of your month, you shall blow with the trumpet? I'm sorry. Yes. You shall blow with the trumpet over your burnt offerings and over your sacrifices of your peace offerings. They may be to you for a memorial. Well, what we do instead now, let's go to Hebrews 13 and 15. In the book of Hebrews, chapter 13, verse 15. And we can read right here, it says, by him, therefore, let us offer the sacrifice of praise. So now we offer a sacrifice of praise to God continually, that the fruits of our lips, giving thanks to his name. So now, in this day and age, that's the way we give thanks and the way we honor God in our holy days. That we may be these holy days, these solemn feast days, the new moon, this is what we're celebrating tonight, that they may be to you for a memorial before your God. I am the Lord your God. In the book of, when we go to the book of Ecclesiasticus, in the Apocrypha, chapter 33, and I'm going to start at verse 7. And it reads, it says, why does one day excel another? when as all the light of every day in the year is of the sun. Hmm. It's gonna show us why. Verse 8 says, by the knowledge of the Lord, they were distinguished. By the knowledge of God, these days were distinguished, and he altered seasons and feasts. So by the moon itself, also the way the Lord made the moon, he made the moon in such a way to where we could look at it and we would be able to tell the times of various feast days. We'd be able to tell when it was time to harvest, when it was time to plant and harvest and so forth, and being able to count from one new moon to the next. We knew what holy day was coming up. So these by the knowledge of the Lord, they were distinguished. So God had certain days that would excel other days. It goes on to say that some of them he has made high days. So those high days is how we know what's coming up by a new moon. Some of them he had made high days and hallowed them, made them holy, made them special, and some of them have he made ordinary days. We got some days just ordinary days, but there are days that he made to be very special to him that we are supposed to honor and celebrate. The same way, this come to mind. This is kind of like this is similar to how he made us as a people. The Lord made us as a people who the Israelites. Let's go to real quick. I'm gonna go to Deuteronomy, the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7 and verse 6. So real quick, so we keep the thought. The Lord said, some of the days, some days, it says, why doth one day excel another when all the days of every day in the year is of the sun? By the knowledge of the Lord, they were distinguished, and he altered seasons and feasts. Some of them have he made high days and hallowed them, and some of them have he made ordinary days. Now the Lord, he even made his people the same way. In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 6, it says, for thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Now, when we go to some people may scratch their head and still that won't sink in. Let's go all the way to the New Testament. Let's go to Romans. Because see, God, we forget he can do what he wants to do because he's God. In Romans chapter 9 and verse 21. Now we have to look at this thing now. Here, maybe let me see. It says right here, verse 21, have not the potter power over the clay? God is the potter. We are the clay. Remember, man was made from the dust of the ground. He made Adam, right? So we all come from Adam, but we still, in relationship to that, we turn to dust when we die. So we still look at ourselves as being dust. So it says, have not the potter power over the clay of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and then another unto dishonor? So he made us over all the people. He gave us honor over all the other people that would come out of Adam. Now, right, going back to where we was, it says, why does one day excel another when all the light of every day is in the year is of the sun? By the knowledge of the Lord, they were distinguished. We were distinguished just like the holy days. And he altered seasons and feasts. Some of them have he made high days. Those are days to be honored. And then he says, and hallowed them. And some of them have he made just ordinary days, just like the people. He made us to be higher and above all the other people, and all the other people just ordinary people. So it was God through his knowledge and his will that he did these things. going to in the Apocrypha, we're gonna stay right here. I'm gonna go to chapter 43. Ecclesiasticus chapter 43 and verse 6. Now we having a new moon. We're celebrating the new moon, as I stated from the beginning. Excuse me. And it says, and he made the moon also to serve in her seasons for a declaration of time and a sign of the world. So when we was reading, when we went, I'm gonna go back to Numbers 10 and 10, when it says that also in the day of your gladness, and in the solemn days, and in the beginning of your months, ye shall blow up the trumpet over your burnt offerings and over your sacrifices and your peace offerings, and they may be unto you a memorial. So in the beginning here it says, in the beginning of our months. So it was a set time. It was an appointed time that we were to celebrate the new moon. Going back, I'm just kind of going back so you try to get the picture of this. Going back to Psalm 81. Psalm 81. Excuse me. It tells us to blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed. When we read, he said he made the moon also to serve in her seasons for a declaration of times and as a sign to the world. From the moon is a sign of feast. So again, we use the moon to tell us when certain days are approaching, when God's feast days are approaching, his holy days are approaching. That's how we know, because if we can count, we can't really count and use the calendars that we have of today. But the way God made it, when we was able to count precisely and knew exactly when one feast was coming and the next feast was coming. So reading right here in Psalm 81, blow up the trumpet in the new moons in the time appointed on our solemn feast days. So our forefathers, they was good. They knew when it was time for certain feast days to come about. So what did we do? We proclaimed them. We let everybody know what was coming, and we had holy convocations. Back to Ecclesiastes 43 and verse 7. It says, from the moon is the signs of feast, a light that decreases in her perfection. So we know the moon in itself, we watch it go through certain cycles. When God created the moon, real quick, I'm going to step into Genesis 1 and it says the moon, I'm going to go back. It says the moon, from the moon is the sign of feast, a light that decreases in a perfection. The month is called after her name. So in every month is called after her name is from the moon, increasing wonderfully and a changing, being an instrument of an army from the of the armies above. So that goes into the armies of God being the angels. So that's it. I'm gonna wrap that up on our new moon scriptures right there and go on and get into the meat of the class, which I had titled "Keeping the Laws of Modesty." And basically, it's for the women. So don't feel offended. Sometimes I have to pull out some scriptures that deal with the men. But at the same time, dealing with this, parents come into play because parents, a man and a wife that's married, they have children, they have daughters. So when having daughters, there's certain things that the daughters have to be raised in a certain way. All our children need to be raised in the right way. Real quick, everything comes from the raising. A couple of things in mind, but I have to slow my brain down. Uh, let's turn to First Timothy. I'm gonna go out. My mind will come. It'll come back to me. I forgot where I was going. First Timothy chapter 2, verse 9. Now God left instructions for our women. Instructions for our women how to keep modest. And it's real simple. We don't have to get real deep into it. It says here in First Timothy chapter 2, verse 9, it says, in like manner also, that women adorn themselves in modest apparel. Modest apparel. Modest, meaning not trying to draw sexual attention. And in our day and age, women use that. They use the styles, I'll just say styles that have uh, come about through the ages, through the years, uh, different fashions and things. And our people, God gave a specific way to dress, and our people constantly, when we do it today, follow the nations. Uh, and everything that they do, we want to emulate it, imitate it. We want to be like it, use it, and do it. And it keeps us in sin. But God showed us right here in First Timothy 2, verse 9, in like manner also the woman should adorn themselves in modest apparel, dressed in such a way that does not draw sexual attention. And the way our women do, the copying after other nations, they have tight fitting clothing, clothing that reveals too much of their bodies, so to speak, splits up the legs, short pants, and pants. God speaks against pants real quick in Deuteronomy 22 and 5. So this is a thing that's not part of adorning yourself with modest apparel. In Deuteronomy, this is way back in the Old Testament. The Lord specifically gave the women a law. And this was a law that would not allow women to show a lot of their body. It says, Deuteronomy 22 and 5 says, a woman shall not wear that which pertaineth to a man. And I'm going to stop right there because this is a twofold type of scripture because it says, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment and so forth, for all that do so are abomination unto the Lord. So a woman wearing a man's garment, man's things that pertain to man, is an abomination to the woman because she will carry a spirit. That thing that pertains to a man is pants. Women should not wear pants. Reason being is because the pants show the woman's form. So that would not be modest in the Lord's eye. When women put on anything, when they put on any type of pair of pants, blue jeans, khakis, whatever the case may be, short pants, they still pants. The first thing a woman does when she stands up in the mirror and she's dressing, she'll turn to the side, turn her head almost in 180 degrees, and she's looking at her behind in the mirror. So what's in her mind? She's looking at worrying about how she's gonna look in the eyes of other people looking at her. So this is not very modest at all. Keeping strictly to the modesty. When we go to the book of First Peter, in the book of First Peter, chapter 3, in verse 3, and it tells us right here, it says, who's adorning? Who's adorning? The woman's adorning. Let the women adorn themselves in modest apparel. So it's talking about the same thing. It's talking about the women here. Who's adorning, let it not be the outward adorning of plaiting of their hair and wearing of gold and putting on apparel. And that's what our women do today in this world. They amplify their beauties and they want to be noted and they want to be looked at. What First Timothy told us, the Lord told us that adorn yourself in modest apparel. Women throughout the ages have copied out after other nations. And in doing so, they bought themselves deeper and deeper into sin and just being contrary of God's laws, which over time has gotten a lot of women in a lot of different situations that are problematic, that are very from rapes to abuses of sorts because they're not following God's laws. This stems from the Bible tells us, and through time, our daughters, we have to think about daughters, where they get the ideals from. They get the ideals from their mamas. And then nowadays they can get it from the grandmamas because you see women that are grandmothers, well up in age, and they're dressing in such a way to where it's not right. Grandmothers showing their bodies. When way a long time ago, our mothers didn't do that thing because they wore dresses. Way back, our mothers, our foremothers, they wore dresses in the cotton field. They wouldn't. It wasn't about being alluring and trying to show their bodies to all the men in the neighborhood. In the book of Ezekiel, chapter 16 and verse 44, it says, "Behold, everyone that uses proverbs shall use this proverb against thee, saying, as is the mother, so is her daughter." So the Lord is putting that out there, showing you that a lot of our young women, even today, they still have this thing of wanting to be sexy. If a young girl grows up in a household and she sees her mama dressing like that, what do you think the daughter's going to do? It's going to be a stage of what we say things are falling like dominoes. It's going to be an ongoing progressive thing. That young lady is going to grow up and have daughters, and she's going to do the same thing and dress the same way, and her daughter's going to see her dressing that particular kind of way, and she's going to think it's right. When the Lord said, "Who's adorning, let it not be with the outward adorning of the plaiting of the hair." Now, I'm not saying that our women can't fix themselves up to be pretty. That's not what it's saying. But don't let this be the hallmark of your personality. The only thing you can do to constantly try to get attention, to make the man to look at you, especially in a sexy way. But it goes on to verse 4. It says, "But let it be the hidden man of the heart. Let it be that you have a good spirit." How come it can't be just that? It goes on to say, "Is in the which that is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of God of great price." So our women don't know anything about this. In our day and age, everything is about the sexy, getting attention, showing what they say Mother Nature. Ain't no Mother Nature. It's what God gave you. Each and every one of us is built different. So what you got is what you got. But God didn't make it for you to show it to the world. Don't get it twisted. Our people, get those sayings from people out here in the world. They get them their own grandmamas to show you how corrupt their minds are. So deep down inside, don't no man really want man. If a man is in his right mind, he don't want a woman that way. Why would I say such a thing? Because if we let's go to Proverbs 7. Because nowadays, even way back, women were doing the same thing. If we go way back in time, in the book of Proverbs, chapter 7, and I'm going to give just a little snippet of what's going on here so hopefully you can get it. Proverbs chapter 7 and verse 8. It says, "Passing through the street near her home, and he went the way of her house." Young man's traveling through the street. He's in the neighborhood, which today we would call the red light district, probably. The stroll. So they're passing through the street near a corner, and he went the way of her house. In the twilight, in the evening, in the black and dark night. And behold, there met him a woman with the attire of an harlot. So she was, harlot is a whore, and that's what that is. So today, the point I want to make here is the fact that the way our women dress today is not modest at all. All the women, these women, they want to be contrary to God's laws. They don't want to pay any attention to God's laws. They want to dress the way they want to dress. They want to be sexy. So this is what the Bible is talking about. How do you know? This is what the Bible is talking about. How can men today know whether a woman is a whore or not? It's hard because they all look the same way. They all dress the same way. You don't know. You don't know the good girl from the bad girl because they all look the same. They wearing tight fitting clothes. They got the big bushy eyebrows. They painted up something fierce, and they revealing everything they got. So you don't even know what you got. It's hard for a man to even decide. Uh, 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 it's hard because every woman is living in that state. Chances are those same women, and you can peep them out because the Bible has another characteristic that comes with them. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 9, verse 13. A foolish woman. That speaks of a foolish woman. So a whore would be a foolish woman. Okay? Because why? She's living contrary to God's laws. So it says here, Proverbs 9 and 13, that a foolish woman is clamorous, and she is simple and knoweth nothing. So most of the whores on the street, and I'm going to just keep it like that, harlots, whores, you can know who they are, just sit back and watch them long enough. But the vast majority of them, they're clamorous. What is clamorous? Clamorous means loud, loudly insistent, tumultuous, noisily demanding, just loud mouth cussing. Ain't you ever seen women like that? I growed up around a bunch of them. I know they still out there the same way. So the Bible is speaking about these type of women. They compelling attention. They trying to get somebody to look at them. Look at me. I'm loud. Don't no man in his right mind want a woman like that. In the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 26, verse 9. Let's see what I got right there. Let's open that up real quick. The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 26, verse 9. And it tells us right here, it says that the whoredom of a woman may be known in her haughty looks and eyelids. Wow. It's going back to the same thing that's being described as the woman that met that young man in the attire, meaning the clothing which he's wearing, the attire of an harlot. She was dressed like she was a hoe. She was dressed like a harlot. So the whoredom of a woman, this is in the Bible in the Apocrypha. Ecclesiasticus chapter 26, verse 9. The whoredom of a woman may be known in her haughty looks and eyelids. The women have on the last year, 2 years, or whatever, they've been on a craze with these eyelid things. They try to make their eyelids even more bushier, more noticeable. Man, that's crazy. The Bible was speaking of this a long time ago. This was written way before that time, of this time. Book of Proverbs, chapter 6. Let's go to Proverbs 6, verse 25. It says, "Look not after her beauty in thine heart." See, that's what these women want men to do, is lust after them. And foolish men to do just exactly that. They give them that attention that they're looking for, and they just keep doing it, keep doing it. So the brothers, y'all brothers, the men that's out there, y'all keep your own sisters in the whoredom because you giving them the pleasure that they seeking, the attention. that want you to look at them. It says, lust not after her beauty in thine heart, neither let her take thee with her eyelids. We just read about that in the Apocrypha, talking about the eyelids of a woman. See, the Bible, God's a mastermind. He already knows what's up in men's minds. He knows what gets them. Let's go to the New Testament real quick and show you that there ain't nothing new under the sun. Things was going on doing all this was way before our time, y'all. All this was way before our time. And things was going on before Christ walked the earth, and things was going on while he was walking the earth. Let's go to Matthew 14, verse 6. And this is just a small account of something that was going on then, but it's it resembles things that happen even today. Right here in the book of Matthew 14, verse 6, it says, when Herod's birthday was kept, the daughter of Herodias danced before them and pleased Herod. So think about it, even within the whorish manner of some women, and you could probably, they got places where women dance. They got places where women dance with hardly nothing on, very alluring in the visual effects. They was doing the same thing way back then. They was doing the same thing thousands of years ago. Women were known how to, and all this is passed down through the ages, how to be a whore. They got, when you could go to foreign countries and you see it on movies, you can imagine at this time how the woman was probably dressed that was dancing, had on something half see-through, sheer, whether it was like a silken garments or whatever, and then they were gyrating of the hips and all this kind of thing. So it pleases, just like men do. Men go to places, and it pleases men to see these things going on, to see women prancing around like that. These are whores. So this is not a very modest thing or way for a woman to even live or consider living. Again, we go back to Ezekiel. Remember, as is the mother, so is the daughter. So if you're raising if you act in these ways around in your own household, you ain't got to. Your kids see you in the street. How you acting around men? That gives your daughters the okay to act the same way. The book of Leviticus, chapter 18. Book of Leviticus, I'm sorry, Leviticus chapter 18, verse 2. Now God knows things, and he does things in a particular way, and he got big reasons why. When we came out of Egypt, we was in the wilderness. Right here in Leviticus 18, verse 2, it says, he's telling Moses, he says, speaking to the children of Israel and saying to them, I am the Lord your God. After the doings of the land of Egypt wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do. And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whether I bring you, shall ye not do. Neither shall you walk in their ordinances. You shall do my judgments and keep my ordinance. I went there in the beginning, showing that God gave only Jacob, the Israelites, the laws. So he says, ye shall do my judgments and keep my ordinance to walk therein. I am the Lord your God. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which if any man do, he shall live in them. I am the Lord. So with that, brothers and sisters, hope you got the picture of where I was going with that, dealing with the modesty of women. Go back and read the First Timothy's, First Peter's chapter 3, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And these things that is what our society is lacking today. And it's ugly, it's sickening to see how our ladies, our women, Israelite women, just what I want to say, disgrace themselves. It's actually a disgrace, but they think they're doing something that's, you know, I don't know, highly acceptable, which is not acceptable in the eyes of God. With that, I'm also Nathaniel with TTIC. With that, I'm going to say shalom.